So waiting on the results of the elections, waiting to see what happens, wanting to know, and knowing that it will be a long process that can have many twists and unexpected earthquakes. I find many, many, many feelings coming up again and again and again. So the purpose of this meditation is to help us be comfortable with all these feelings, the fluctuations of the mind. It's not aimed at eliminating these feelings. They represent the range of our experience. But it's meant to allow them to be embraced, to have a context, to have space, so they're part of the mind stream rather than invaders of the mind stream. So starting by creating the space in the body, creating the space at the root of the spine, at the pelvic floor, sitting on the sits bones, which means sitting on the thighs rather than the fleshy part of the buttocks. So actually, if you need to make a movement to make that happen, go ahead. You can literally take the buttocks with your hand and move it backwards, kind of pat it backwards so you're sitting on your thighs. And then lightly send the sits bones down into the cushion or the chair. Send the hip bones, which are in the back, away from each other, creating space in the pelvic bowl. Experience the space between the sits bones, and you can play with it. Send the sits bones slightly apart, then bring the sits bones closer together, creating a vibration of that space of the pelvic floor, creating a sense of hollowness at the base of the spine. This pelvic hollowing can trigger a sense of energy that can feel sexual. Notice that, and also note that it's just energy, and that the sexual part is actually created elsewhere. It's an extra layer, it's an extra vibration. So bring your awareness to the space of the pelvic girdle, hollowing it out, opening it up. And bringing a sense of space, of hollowness, up through the spine, through bringing the awareness backwards, receding it towards the center of the body. The spine actually occupies the whole space from just inside the skin, in the back, and then in towards the front, about 2 or 3 inches. It's not just in the back. The spine is actually in the center, in the core. So bringing my attention, creating the core, the spine, supported by the space of the pelvic floor. And notice the tendency to breathe in the front of the ribs. Allow your breathing and awareness to even out throughout the depth of the body and not just the front. Let the shoulder blades move down the back. Let go of any pinching of the shoulder blades together. This pulling of the shoulder blades together is a common tendency that creates the illusion of space by us jutting out the front ribs. Allow the space behind the heart to open and widen. And then creating the hollow space in the skull. Allowing the eyes to recede back in their sockets, going back towards the back of the skull. See if you can feel a resonance between this releasing of the eyes and the space of the pelvic bowl. Releasing the jaw and opening, widening the space of the gums, of the root of the teeth. Feel the connection between the vibration and space here and the movement created by the sits bones. You may find a greater connection by placing the tongue, the tip of the tongue, at the base of the upper teeth, the roof of the mouth. And then see if smiling allows you to create even more space within the core of the body and the mind. This whole process is mental. Just do it with your awareness rather than muscularly. The body will move. See if you can initiate the process of creating space in the awareness. Keep coming back to the sense of the spine opening, supported at the bottom by the space of the pelvic floor, and supporting the space of the skull. Now looking at the fluctuations of the mind, feelings, emotions, thoughts. See if you can also find the reflections of these of the mind in the core of the body. A feeling can reflect anywhere in the front part of the spine or in the supporting space of the pelvic girdle or the spaces of the skull. If you find a place of resonance, just allow that mental movement of the mind to be embraced by the space of the core, as if that mind, that feeling of thought is landing here and settling. Noting that the feeling can still take off, become another feeling, that it is not being smothered by the space, it is just invited into it. I keep offering the invitation to all feelings to just land and settle in the space of my core. I notice there is anxiety, there is anticipation, there is fear. There are other feelings and energies I may not be able to name. So I just call them fluctuations, movement of the mind. I allow them all to be embraced by the space of the spine. I may find that it comes naturally to one area of the spine particularly. Just notice this area and open it more. It may be your natural tendency. This particular spot may just be the spot for this time period. I just note and create more space in this area, more invitation for landing and being embraced. Sitting under the Bodhi tree, observing the whole world within me and around me, observing the whole world with its sorrows and its joys, what I like, what I dislike, what I fear, generating infinite space within the core of my body, offering infinite space for all the vibrations of the world, of the mind. Looking again at my reactions to the election process, to the results, to the possibilities of coups, of violence, of disruption. looking at my reaction to suffering, to injustice and fear, offering them all the space in my own core, and knowing I can embrace all suffering and come back to this infinite core, producing infinite space.